Most people think farming means hundreds of acres, expensive equipment, and decades of experience before you ever see a profit. They're wrong. There are 5 crops being grown right now on small plots of land across America, some as small as a single acre, that are quietly making their growers over $200,000 a year. These are not cannabis. They are not trendy superfoods backed by venture capital. They are not experimental lab crops. They are real plants with real buyers in real markets that are growing every single year. And the farmers growing them are not agricultural corporations. They are regular people, retirees, veterans, families who figured out what most farmers never bother to look for. Today, we are going to look at all 5 of them, what they are, how much land you need, who buys them, and exactly what kind of money you can realistically make. Stay until the end, because the 5th crop on this list is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most profitable plant per square foot in all of American agriculture. Before we get into the crops themselves, let me explain why most farmers never find these. The agricultural system in America is built around scale: corn, soybeans, wheat. These crops work because you can grow millions of acres of them and sell to massive commodity buyers at a thin margin per bushel. The whole system is designed for volume. But volume farming requires enormous capital: land, machinery, fuel, chemical storage. A beginning farmer trying to compete on corn is starting the race 100 miles behind. What the small farmer actually has, and this is the insight that changes everything, is flexibility. A large operation cannot pivot to grow half an acre of something exotic. It cannot hand harvest delicate botanicals. It cannot sell direct to a chef, a herbalist, or a specialty buyer who will pay 5 or 10 times the commodity price. The small farmer can do all of those things, and that is exactly the model that every crop on this list is built around. Low volume, high value, direct sales, buyers who are desperate for supply and willing to pay for it. Let's get into the crops. Number 1, saffron. If you have ever bought saffron at a grocery store, you already know it is the most expensive spice in the world by weight. A single pound of dried saffron sells for between $500 and $5,000, depending on grade and buyer. The reason it is expensive is simple. Saffron comes from the stigma of the Crocus sativus flower. Each flower produces exactly 3 stigmas. Those stigmas must be harvested by hand, within hours of the flower opening, typically in the early morning before the sun damages them. It takes approximately 170,000 flowers to produce a single pound of dried saffron. That sounds impossible to grow profitably until you understand the math of high-density, small-scale farming. 1 acre of saffron, planted at high density, can produce 2 to 4 pounds of dried saffron per year. At a conservative farm gate price of $2,000 per pound, that is $4,000 to $8,000 per acre per year. But here is what makes saffron extraordinary for the small farmer. It is a perennial. You plant the corms once. They multiply underground every year. By year 3, your planting density has naturally tripled without you doing a thing. By year 5, you have more corms than you started with and a harvest that keeps growing. The harvest window is short, about 3 weeks in October and November. The rest of the year, the plants require almost no attention. No irrigation beyond normal rainfall in most climates. Minimal pest pressure, and deer, rabbits, and most garden pests leave saffron completely alone. The buyers are everywhere: specialty food stores, high-end restaurants, online direct sales, spice importers, and a rapidly growing domestic market of consumers who want American-grown saffron rather than imports from Iran or Spain. American saffron commands a significant price premium simply because of its origin. A small operation of 1 to 2 acres, run by one person with seasonal harvest help, can generate $10,000 to $16,000 a year from saffron alone. Combined with other crops, it becomes a serious component of a profitable small farm. Number 2. Gourmet mushrooms. This is the one crop on this list that requires almost no land at all. The gourmet mushroom market in the United States has grown dramatically over the past decade, driven by the explosion of interest in functional foods, plant-based diets, and culinary culture. Varieties like lion's mane, oyster, shiitake, and maitake sell at farmers markets, to restaurants, and through online delivery for anywhere from $8 to $40 per pound. And here is the part that makes mushroom farming genuinely unlike anything else in agriculture. You do not need soil. You do not need sunlight. You can grow mushrooms in a garage, a shipping container, a spare room, or a purpose-built shed. The growing medium, called substrate, is typically straw, wood chips, or hardwood sawdust. All three are cheap or free in most areas. You inoculate the substrate with mushroom spawn, control the temperature and humidity, and harvest within 8 to 12 weeks. A single 10 by 10 foot growing room, running 3 or 4 production cycles per year, can produce 400 to 800 pounds of gourmet mushrooms annually. At an average farm gate price of $15 per pound, that is $6,000 to $12,000 from a room the size of a large bathroom. Scale that to a 2,000 square foot facility, still smaller than most residential garages. And you are looking at production capacity that can generate $80,000 to $120,000 per year. The overhead is low. The startup costs are modest compared to field farming, and the market is almost entirely undersupplied. Restaurants in mid-sized American cities consistently report they cannot find reliable local mushroom growers. Farmers market customers line up. Online sales for dried mushrooms, mushroom powders, and mushroom growing kits have exploded. Of all the crops on this list, gourmet mushrooms have the fastest path from zero to profit, often within 90 days of starting. Number 3. Lavender. Lavender is one of the most reliably profitable crops for small farms, and it has been for decades. But the reason it keeps showing up on lists like this is not just the dried flower sales. It is the entire ecosystem of value-added products that a lavender farm can build. Dried lavender bundles sell for $4 to $12 per bunch at farmers markets and craft fairs. Lavender essential oil sells for between $500 and $2,000 per liter at the farm level, depending on quality and buyer. Lavender honey, lavender soap, lavender sachets, lavender syrup, every product in that category commands a significant premium over commodity agricultural products. But the real money in lavender for the small farm is something most people do not consider when they start. Agritourism. A blooming lavender field in June and July is one of the most photographed landscapes in America. Lavender farms that open to the public for you-pick experiences, farm tours, and events can charge $15 to $30 per person for entry alone before they sell a single product. Small lavender farms in California, Oregon, Washington, and the Northeast regularly report that their agritourism revenue exceeds their product sales in peak season. 1 acre of lavender, fully established by year 3, can produce enough dried flower and distilled oil for $30,000 to $50,000 in product sales. Add a modest agritourism operation, even just weekend you-pick days for 2 months a year, and that number can double. The plants are perennial, drought-tolerant once established, require no irrigation in most of the country, and live for 20 or more years. You plant once and harvest for 2 decades. Number 4, ginseng. This is the slow play on the list. Ginseng takes patience, but for the farmer willing to wait, it is one of the most extraordinary returns in all of American agriculture. American ginseng, Panax quinquefolius, is native to the forests of the eastern United States. It has been harvested and traded since the 1700s. Today, the primary market is Asia, particularly China and Korea, where American wild ginseng is considered far superior to Asian varieties and is used extensively in traditional medicine. Dried mature ginseng root sells for between $300 and $800 per pound at the farm level. Premium wild simulated roots, meaning roots grown in natural forest conditions rather than cultivated fields, can fetch $1,000 per pound or more. Here's the math. 1 acre of forest-grown ginseng, planted and left to mature for 7 to 10 years, produces approximately 100 to 300 pounds of dried root at harvest. At $500 per pound, that is $50,000 to $150,000 from a single acre, harvested once. The farmer who plants ginseng today is planting a retirement account in the woods. The growing requirements suit the small landowner perfectly. Ginseng grows under a forest canopy, the same land that cannot be used for most crops. It requires shade, which means it occupies space that would otherwise be completely unproductive. Deer browse it, which requires fencing, but otherwise the crop largely takes care of itself. This is not a crop for people who need income next year, but for anyone with wooded land and a long-term perspective, ginseng is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools in small-scale American agriculture. Number 5, and this is the one almost nobody talks about. Specialty cut flowers, not roses, not carnations, not the commodity flowers grown by the millions in South America and sold in gas stations for $4. I mean specialty, locally grown, seasonal cut flowers. The kind that florists, wedding planners, event designers, and direct consumers are desperate to find and willing to pay extraordinary prices for. The specialty cut flower market in the United States is one of the fastest growing segments of American agriculture, and it is growing because of one shift in consumer behavior that is not slowing down. People want local flowers. They want to know their flowers were grown 50 miles away, not flown in from Colombia after spending 3 days in a refrigerated shipping container. They want seasonal varieties, dahlias, lisianthus, ranunculus, peonies, celoseas, that simply do not exist in the commercial floral supply chain because they cannot survive industrial handling, and they are paying for it. Premium locally grown specialty bouquets sell at farmers markets for $25 to $45. Wholesale accounts with florists and wedding planners pay $60 to $150 per bucket of specialty stems. A single wedding can require $1,500 to $3,000 worth of locally sourced flowers. Here's what makes the economics extraordinary. 1 acre of intensively managed specialty cut flowers, using succession planting to stagger bloom times across the entire growing season, can produce 40,000 to 60,000 stems per year. At an average wholesale price of $1.50 per stem, that is $60,000 to $90,000 per acre per year. The farmer who adds a retail component, farmers market sales, a CSA flower subscription, or wedding and event work, can push that number past $120,000 per acre. 1 acre, $120,000, and the startup costs are among the lowest of any farming enterprise. Seeds, basic tools, irrigation tape, and a small cooler. No heavy equipment, no expensive infrastructure. You can start on a quarter acre with a few $100s and scale from there. The Slow Flowers movement has created a nationwide network of florists actively seeking local growers. Wedding planners in every major American city have waiting lists for local flower farmers. The demand is there. The supply is almost nowhere, so there they are. 5 crops that are making small farmers serious money right now on land that most agricultural experts would tell you isn't big enough to farm profitably. Saffron, the most valuable spice in the world, grown in your backyard. Gourmet mushrooms, no land required, fastest path to profit. Lavender, perennial, drought-tolerant, and a tourism magnet. Ginseng, the slow play that builds generational wealth in the woods. Specialty cut flowers, 1 acre, $100,000, and buyers who are begging for supply. None of these require you to be a commercial farmer. None of them require hundreds of acres. All of them require the one thing that large agricultural operations have lost completely: attention, care, and the willingness to grow something worth growing. If this video changed how you think about what's possible on a small piece of land, that is exactly what this channel is here to do. Every week, we uncover the crops, the techniques, and the farming knowledge that the industrial food system never wanted small farmers to find. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one, and drop a comment below. Which of these 5 crops are you most likely to try? I read every single one.